the full-time whistle, and Laois are through to a Leinster final for the first time since 2007. They've done it to Harway, there's no doubt about that. Huge congratulations on the sideline. The Carlow crowd are booing all around the pitch, but they can have no complaints. I think beaten by a better side in the day.
There we are. Laois are back in a Leinster final, the first time in 11 years since 2007. And now in his 16th inter-county season, there is also another Leinster final for Ross Munnelly. You're very welcome to the studio. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
So, well, I guess it's nice to be back in one. 11 years ticked by quickly enough, I'd say, in a weird kind of way. Yeah,
that's for sure. It's well, some of them went through slower than others, but yeah, from our perspective, it's good to be back. It's almost a complete new bunch of players, which is brilliant as well. So many young guys going to experience this for the first time. So things are on the up. We're progressing every game that we've played so far this year, and we're looking forward to it now.
Yeah, because last year just felt like a complete mess in many respects. Relegation to Division 4, the Championship didn't go well. There were county board meetings where dirty laundry was aired and talk of, well, those lads are drinking and then the manager's getting stick, and it's all just a big mess. And I remember you were in here after the season deciding whether or not to play on. It struck me at the time it would have been a terrible year to sign off on. Was that part of your thinking, or were you always realistically going to stay on?
No, realistically I was always going to stay on, provided the income and management wanted me. And I always think when you get past a certain age, it has to be right for everybody, and it has to be a good fit and make sure that it fits in seamlessly together. So once that all was right, then I'm obviously delighted to help out in any way that I can. And more important than me or anything like that, Laois are in a Leinster final and long overdue, and great to be back and great to give so many loyal supporters some good times at the moment, and 3 really good wins in Leinster. And
it's probably a long time since you've had 3 wins in Leinster.
Yeah, a long time. Well, obviously it would have been 2011, but the league final on top of that, and it just goes to show that not everything has to be a negative. And where we found ourselves at the start of the year, we were able to turn it into a positive, and that positive has continued after the league final.
And so how does that happen? How do you turn a very negative year into a positive one? And new management team, and I presume there's meetings, and you've said it's a new enough team, a lot of new lads in.
Yeah.
So I guess you've been involved in building a good culture before and building up good teams before. What's happened over the last number of months, or what did you do in the winter to try and put things back on track?
Yeah, well, I suppose, first of all, the buck stops with the manager, and John has come in and done a terrific job. He's put a really good team around him, and he's brought confidence to the group and a tremendous honesty. And John takes his football extremely seriously, and he expects everybody else to do so as well. And he has a way of blending things together and getting a really good mix of where we've trained really hard, but we've also enjoyed ourselves as well. And there's a good bond within the group.
What does enjoying yourselves mean in 2018 for an inter-county team? It's like, you know, a night bowling.
No, I'm more so talking about the banter that you have in the dressing room, and sometimes that can start with the manager as well, because John and the group that he has around him in the management team, they're relaxed at times. You have a bit of fun in the dressing room, but then when you're out and you're training and it's game day and all the rest, it's very focused. And he's made sure that everybody knows their role, and everyone is pulling in the right direction, and that's crucially important. And I think we're seeing the benefit of it now.
Because have you been in dressing rooms where there's not much fun beforehand, and it's fairly business-like and, you know, weight of the world on everyone's shoulders kind of thing?
Yeah, I think it's small things probably change the dynamic of a dressing room from time to time, and different personalities coming together certainly help that, where certain personalities will complement themselves, and it's just a real good mix that we have at the moment. But we've worked incredibly hard all year as well, and we started on a very low base in Division 4. And we progressed our way through, and we had some very difficult tasks in Division 4 away to London. Proved to be quite a difficult game. At home to Waterford. We were in Dr. Cullen Park to try and progress in the last game of the league as well. All really difficult games, and we came through them, and we are where we are on merit.
Yeah, so it's your 16th inter-county season. I think you're closing in on 70 championship appearances. You'd be pretty close to that now. Brick Walsh, I know, for obviously Waterford, is going to have his 74th, I think, in their final game, and it's a really big deal. Derek McGrath's talking about doing it for him. So you're in that kind of rare atmosphere now of guys who are getting onto 60, 70 championship appearances. Would you not grow up at this stage and pack it in and like see sense? 35 years old, you should have stopped a long time ago, no?
I suppose, like anything else, when you're committed to something that you enjoy and it's part of the, I suppose, what you really like about life. And for me, playing football has always been a release from other pressures. We all have jobs, we all have to work hard and so on. And it has always been something that I enjoy. So I don't look at it maybe the way you're looking at it, or other people would say that to me often enough. But to be in a dressing room with 20-year-old kids and having a bit of fun and testing myself against them when I go out on the field, and there's always a different challenge. There's always a new kid on the block that's that bit quicker, or is maybe trying to take your jersey and so on. And sometimes they do take your jersey, and that's probably one of the biggest challenges as you get older. That's sometimes you're told, listen, today is not the day we're going to play you, and you have to. That's where the real key point is. You have to decide at that stage, well, is that a fight that I'm prepared to sign up to? And when that stage came for me a couple of years ago, when I didn't start championship games, I found myself knuckling down even harder and trying to contribute, because for starting for so long, you're always talking to other guys and saying your chance will come, and take your chance when it's there, and it's all about the squad and the players, and everyone makes a contribution.
You can't be a hypocrite.
And you actually have to live that then, and that's, for me, in many ways, that probably invigorated me in the last couple of years, because I saw it from a completely different angle and understood what it felt like, and to maybe not feel the same part of it as when you're starting a game.
So it gives you a deeper appreciation for what the subs effectively have done for your 10, 12, 13 years of being a starter, and they've trained just as hard. They don't get a lot of the perks.
Yeah, and it also gives you an appreciation from where the management is coming from as well, because it's probably easier to manage players who are playing all the time. But when I experienced that, I realized, as much as I still was fully behind everything and I wanted to play and wanted to contribute in whatever small way I could, whenever I was called upon, I was conscious as well that actually there's more to maybe looking after players who aren't playing and keeping them focused as well. So that's the one thing about sport, is, as you know yourself, you're always learning, and every day that you train or you play a match, you're learning something different about yourself. So
it's great that you use the word enjoyment there, you know, because I mean, look, I'm kind of joking when I say you're 35. Would you not have more sense? Like, I think you should keep playing for as long as possible, obviously. But it's a lovely thing that you're saying, well, this has been, you know, I guess your life changes a lot from the age of 20 when you come on the scene, and I know you played minor as well, to now 35. That's a huge amount of change. Every aspect of your life, this has been maybe one of the few consistent things, and it's constantly been that release, that bit of enjoyment, that comfort blanket that you have in your life. What a lovely thing to have.
Yeah, and it's like I said, that the experience in the dressing room, a couple of days a week, you do your gym sessions in groups and in smaller pods as well, and it's constantly you're trying to achieve something with a group of people, and that's very hard. Once that's gone, it's very hard to copy that in other ways in life. And
well, what other sense of purpose could you have that, one, you're really invested in, two, the people that you're immediately working with are really invested in and very positive about, and then three, just to give it a massive bonus, lots of people are very interested in and supportive of you. You've got tens of thousands of fans coming to support you. Like, you'll never replicate that holy trinity. Yeah,
and I suppose the most important part of it all is you're representing where you come from. And that's something that is obviously unique in the GAA as well. And I'm still playing with my own club back down in Laois, even though I've been living in Dublin for the last maybe 10 years or 11 years of that. So that's important as well. And I suppose you're always defending your own patch, and it's important. It has always been important to me to represent Laois, and there'll come a day when somebody else will take over and carry that on. But for as long as I can do it, and I'm still making a contribution, and I'm helping the whole thing move along, then I'm more than happy to commit.
How has the dressing room changed? Like, how has, we're getting old when we're talking about generation gaps and the next generation, the next batch of 20, 21-year-olds. But I think there is a difference. I think they have a different life experience. They've grown up. Technology, for one, has been a hugely different aspect in their lives. How does it compare, the dressing rooms?
Yeah, well, that was probably the big thing looking back through the years, that when I started playing, obviously social media didn't exist. I remember, I often tell people the story, I remember being in Dubai, I think it was January 2007 it was, and I was a replacement on an all-star trip, and we'd got some spending money or whatever, and Brian Kavanagh from Longford said, I want to go and get a camera. You know, those little portable cameras at the time, they were tiny, to fit in the palm of your hand. We were in a taxi. We were heading to the shopping centre in Dubai, this massive mall, and one of the lads in the taxi said, apparently there's this phone coming out that has a camera, you can surf the internet, there's an MP3 player, it has all that stuff on it, and you can use it as a phone as well. And we were in the taxi thinking, never going to happen. And later on that summer, the iPhone came out, and I suppose it's just, things change, things move on, but essentially when you're in a dressing room and you're I find mixing with those players, you're always learning, you're keeping in touch with the younger lads as well, and the younger generation, as you're saying there, and it's great. It's a brilliant experience, and I learn just as much from them as maybe they are from me, and it constantly from my perspective, it drives me on to keep trying to improve. Well,
as part of the millennial generation, just about basically the most maligned generation in the history of the planet ever. And like, I think, geez, in recent weeks they've shown in this country they're pretty impressive people in lots of ways, and not just sitting around eating avocado. But so yeah, I don't want to like say anything about the 20-year-olds who are different, but we had a coach in here, and I won't name him because he's still working with the players, and he was just saying off air that he is really struck by how different the guys under 23, 22 are, like to the point where you have to be really gentle around them. He says they're quieter on average, much quieter, and he doesn't think it's just a youth thing. He thinks they're quieter people, more sensitive people. No point sending them like a long analysis, just WhatsApp them a 30-second, minute-long thing. Not better, not worse, but like he's noticed all these big differences with even 10 years ago players coming through.
Yeah, I can't say I've noticed that as much. I think when you're in a dressing room and you're out on a pitch, and for me, all those kind of things stay the same.
Do they?
Yeah, I think so. And yeah, I suppose that's down to maybe him as a coach. I have a different experience because I'm playing and I'm rubbing shoulders with them every day of the week in training and stuff. But I suppose if that's true, that's one of the challenges for the management team. And again, it probably is a really good indication of what John and his backroom team have made work with our setup this year, and the constant improvement from day one.
And what's your body like now? Like, you talked about pace. You obviously had loads of it. How much is left? How much would 22-year-old Ross Munnelly be 35-year-old Ross Munnelly in a 30-yard sprint now?
Yeah, he might have been a bit quicker, but that doesn't mean he'll get there any faster. You know, so it's fun. Look, I hold my own in all the assessments and the tests that we do. Yeah, I'm very happy with where I am in terms of that feedback that I get, and it's a case where for as long as I can keep competing, and I know I'm repeating myself here, but once for as long as that the gaffer is happy that I'm making a contribution and I'm doing it myself, and that's the main thing. And most importantly, that Laois are playing good football at the moment, and we've a lot of good young players coming in, and it seems to be each day that we go out, we've a different, maybe couple of individuals and so on that drives it on a little bit more, and that's a sign of a good team and a developing team. Has your change in your own personal, or is your regime, your own personal one, changed much? Are you doing very different things to what you were doing 10 years ago, training wise? Probably, tailored a bit. I would do a lot of work with physios now, and more maintenance stuff rather than reactive, so making sure that my own body is loose. And obviously every player will tell you as they get older, they get certain parts of the body gets tighter and so on, and that's a trick in itself, to, I suppose, to be self-aware and know what you need to do to stay stay nimble and stay flexible and put yourself in a position where that you can train as often as everybody else and do the same load, and unless I've a period where I'm injured or anything like that, I do the same training as everybody else, and it's the same rule for everybody in the group, and we just push along together, and that's where we're very much at with this Laois team.
Yeah, and being a forward has obviously changed a lot over the last 16 years as well. Strikes me as a less enjoyable gig now. What's been the big change down there on the pitch, surrounded by blanket defences? And I guess it's continuing to evolve now. So give us some idea of what that experience has been like.
Yeah, it's in some ways it's an adjustment, because as a forward, people maybe expect you to score and they judge your performance on scoring, but in more recent years, it can be the things that are appreciated among the group may not be a score that you get. It could be a run that you make to open a particular patch of grass that somebody else comes into and a score comes from, or it may be Sean and collecting a ball and giving it to somebody who's maybe peeled off into space. So I think the game has become a little bit more tactical in the last number of years, and the days of the shootouts where we'll try and score more than you were brilliant and really exciting, but that's not really the game anymore, unless you're playing certain teams or whatever, and your approach and your manner of which you play the game has to be different. And certainly throughout Division 4 this year, I would have realised that it's far more important to be really composed on the ball now, and when you're playing against the blanket defences, and make sure that possession really is king, and that it's not worth risking it for maybe a snapshot or whatever. You have to just keep recycling and recycle until you do the right thing for the team. And
ignore the out lads saying let it in.
Yeah, well, they don't say let it in high to me anyway. I'm safe enough on that one.
How do you approach Dublin? I mean, I was just looking there. Jim Gavin's average winning record, or average winning margin in Leinster across his tenure, is coming up on 17 points now in each game. So it's fantastic to be in a Leinster final, but there must be a degree of realism and trepidation that you're facing one of the best sides in the history of the game. So do you approach this with if things go our way, we could win this thing? Or are you more realistic about a game against Dublin in a Leinster final?
Well, naturally enough, when it comes down to a final and a two-horse race, anything is possible. We've gone out in Leinster and we've beaten each of the three teams that have been put in front of us according to the draw in the Leinster Championship. And Dublin is the next team that lies in front of us. So we'll be treating Dublin the very same as we had with Carlow in the league final, Wexford, Westmeath, and then Carlow again last weekend. So I suppose the journalists and yourself and people like that will talk about Dublin and give them the credit that they have earned themselves, but we'll just be focusing on ourselves, because we're a team that has improved since the first league game this year. And we set our stall out and we've improved game on game, and particularly in the Leinster Championship, we were quite fortunate in many ways to come through the Wexford game. We got caught on the hop early doors, and we learned a huge amount about ourselves late on in that game, in particular when I think we came from 9 points down at one stage, and then we were almost put to sleep just on the final whistle, and we came back, and so we're happy with where we're going at the moment. We'll be concentrating on ourselves. We'll be going to Croke Park with very much in the frame of mind that we have to work to our own system and believe in ourselves, and if we do that, we've as good a chance as anyone.
There's obviously some fairly special characters in the dressing room as well, like your captain Stephen Atried, double fracture of his skull to try and get in a breaking ball, and the word on him seems to be good. And we heard there in the commentary clip at the start of the piece where you have Evan O'Carroll, who goes through what must just be the worst of things, really, the death of his father, and comes on and kicks a score, and God, it's kind of special stuff, really, that you're a part of when you see lads showing that level of commitment.
Yeah, and you can't buy that, and you can't, those kind of experiences that you share with people in a dressing room, in many ways no amount of training can make up for that. Those are those are incredibly important moments that you share with people that really bond your group. And the shock for Evan and his family last week, and they were all there at the match at the weekend, and for Evan to kick I suppose that all-important point at the weekend was fantastic for him, but also for our group, because we saw what he went through last week, and his commitment to us even during the week and with training and so on. It was phenomenal. And Stevie diving on that ball right at the end, where most lads maybe mightn't put their foot, and whatever happens over the next couple of weeks, those kind of things strengthen the group, and they make you realise that we're all fighting for the one cause here, and that's why I say when we go to Croke Park the next day, that's the type of mentality that we have, and it doesn't matter who we're playing in many ways, because we're improving game on game.
Yeah, I can see that actually, how that would almost bond you together and fortify you from idle talk in the papers about the fact that Dublin are very good. Like, there's lads making such unbelievable sacrifices. Not to pry on Evan, you said like he's coming training as well. I mean, he's within his rights to say, I'm out and I'm taking a couple of weeks off. So he's making a commitment even the week before.
Towards the end of the week, he rejoined the panel, which was phenomenal. And just, I remember walking into the dressing room and thinking, wow, this guy is going to play a big part for us on Sunday, and that's I suppose things that groups go through together, and when he had that tough circumstances, the funeral and all that was finished, he was back with us, and that's important, and to, I suppose, give him his privacy now, and we move on to the next day.
Yeah, great. I mean, I think everyone would love to see him continue to do well. Just one last thing, obviously you were coming in and looking back to 03 and Miko, and you're so young and everything. I was reading a piece you did with Marie Crowe last year, and she had a line in that piece where you said that you ring O'Dwyer before the championship every year. Is that right? Yeah,
and last year I was down with him in Waterville. It was 15 years since we had won the Leinster. I was down on the day I went down to him, and it was
just on your own.
Just had lunch with him. I think Maurice Fitz was there as well, and just a great old feeling, because I'd never forget the people that helped me throughout my playing days and my career or whatever, and Miko was the person who gave me my chance, and I suppose no more than yourself, when you're starting off your career and things like that, you always remember the people that give you that bit of I won't say give you the confidence, but put you in a position to help you earn it yourself. And Miko showed a tremendous amount of belief in me, and it's something that I'll never forget. And yeah, we chat on the phone every now and then. And
what would you chat about? Just how you getting on kind of thing?
Yeah, and it's probably generally a similar enough chat every time. His memory of games gone by and small incidents in games when we were really pushing back from 0-3 to 0-6 is incredible still.
Really?
And he'd talk about different refereeing decisions, or maybe a ball that hit the post and things like that. And I suppose I always find that after speaking with him, going training and all that, I'd get a buzz from it, because he was just an incredible man, and what he did for Laois was fantastic.
That's great that he remembers that stuff so well, because he would be within his rights, given his exceptional playing career and the career with Kerry, to not like disregard the Laois thing, but to will remember all that stuff on a far more vivid detail, and for that to mean more to him almost.
But he still believes that we were in touch and distance of an All-Ireland.
Well, Armagh beat you by 2 points the year they won it. Yeah. So that's one where you're within 2 points of Armagh that year.
Then we went on that magical run in 2006. We beat Tyrone in the first round of the qualifiers. They were All-Ireland champions at the time, and we just gathered pace, and I think we were 2 points up on Mayo, heading for injury time
in the quarterfinal.
And they got 2 quick points to bring us to a replay, and they beat us by a couple of points in the replay. So he always believed that we were just on it. So great to again. No more than what I spoke about the lads. You share those moments with people, and they don't fade, or certainly not for me. They don't fade. They stick with you, and they're powerful. And once you've been there, you believe you can get back again. And
what a class thing to go down and have lunch with Miko and Maurice. You're kind of dining with royalty there, and just chewing the
because
fat.
I wasn't expecting Maurice to join us, but because Carl had trained our club in Arles Miko's son, and he trained us for a year and did a brilliant job with us. So that connection had always been saying, how's the boss? Is he in good form? And Carlow be saying, yeah, he's great. He's up for the Leinster final, and I think he's still up and down to Portlaoise. He's still in good form with Declan and Lachlan, and they meet up, and Miko travels up and down and all that. So it's great. And he's...
Did you see the documentary on him? I
did, yeah.
I mean, the whole country watched that and just said, God, I love Miko.
Yeah. And that's what he's like. That's what he's like. And
because I saw you make the point as well to Marie in that piece that like Miko wasn't about drills, and look, he's been called old school, and I know you were saying you don't necessarily love that description of him as being kind of old school, as if it was somehow out of touch or out of date, because you talked about how he would quite often have these 40-50 minute games of football in training, and he'd be in the middle reffing, but he would also in a very hands-on way be coaching. So every passage of play, there might be a small word here, but effectively he's analysing each piece of play, and he's using all that experience and that brilliant football brain, and it might be just a word about what you didn't do right there, did right there. For me, that strikes me as an absolutely brilliant way to coach a team, I have to say, and that's, I have no objections even in 100 years for a coach to be reffing and coaching on the field, seeing what the players are seeing and involved in kind of the ebb and flow of the game.
Yeah, and that's what he was like, and it was. I really enjoyed that style of coaching, and it worked for me because. And don't get me wrong, you miss a pass, or you maybe take an extra solo when you shouldn't have, and he walks by and maybe would have said something, and that hurts, because you don't like hearing Miko saying something like you're gone a bit greedy, or you should have passed that one, or whatever. You'd nearly, the next ball I'd have been nearly soloing towards somebody to give it off to them, and that's the kind of effect that he had. But it was his way, it was his style of coaching, and it was very, very, very effective. And the one thing that he always emphasised, he told great stories about taking the bomber out and kicking ball after ball after ball with him out on their own sessions, just the two of them, and that kind of stuff always stuck with me as well. That you got to keep practicing and.
Because you do that with the goalkeeper, didn't you, Byron?
Yeah, myself and Byron used to have great battles, and we still have them in training now with the goalkeepers, and lads stay behind. But the thing about it is, in essence, the basics of the game will never change and haven't changed. You got to still put the ball over the bar. Obviously the S&C and the nutrition and all that is really important in the analysis, but the skills of the game still haven't changed and never will.
Listen, pleasure having you in. 11 years since your last Leinster final. Keep it going, 16 seasons and counting. Ross Munnelly, best of luck. Thanks a million.
Thank you.
Off the ball on News Talk.
Volkswagen Financial Services have launched a new product that will transform your business. Interested? It can remove depreciation costs on your entire fleet, free up cash flow for your business, and with fixed monthly payments, your fleet costs will always be the same. Sounds good, right? It also has a low cost of entry, and if your driver needs assistance, they'll call us, not you. And this product's name? Leasing, from Volkswagen Financial Services. So whether your business requires 1 or 100 vehicles, our leasing product can benefit you. To learn more, visit VW.